Just to check, can you see my screen okay?
Yeah. The presentation.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see very well.
Thank you. Cool. So I think should we get started? And then if anyone wants to join, be able to join whilst we're playing the recording. But thank you for coming. For anyone who's joined, welcome to our first episode of our Welcome Plus student podcasts. So thank you so much for coming, and we hope that you're enjoying Welcome Plus so far. I know we had our launch event earlier in the week, so I hope you enjoyed that if you went along. So today we'll be live streaming our first episode of our podcast, which is focused on the theme of find your people. So in this one, we're kind of talking about our experiences of making meaningful connections at university and finding your people on campus. It's also quite a special episode in that we're also speaking a little bit about our new I See Myself project, which is focused on the experiences of Black heritage students at Leeds. So this podcast was hosted by Nathan, who you can see in the photo, who isn't here today on our panel, but he is a current plus programme student and he's also an intern in educational engagement. My name's Katie and I'm also an intern in the Plus programme. And I'm joined by our two student guests on the podcast, two of our co-hosts, and who will also be on our panel today as well. So we've got Courtney and Florentina. I don't know if you want to say hi, guys.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, I'm Florentina. Hi.
So we'll be playing our podcast today for the first half of the session, and then the second half will be a bit of a Q&A to kind of just touch on any of the any questions that you might have about the podcast or anything that might came to mind after listening to it. So that'll be the second half. But in the meantime, if you do have any questions, feel free to just pop them in the Q&A box, and we'll touch on them in the second half. Also, just to say that the session is being recorded, just for anyone who isn't able to attend live today, and also just to make sure if you can that your name on Zoom is correct, just so that we know that you came along today. This is a 4-part series, I will say, so we've got some upcoming student podcasts as well over the next few weeks linked in with the weekly themes. So obviously this week is focused on find your people, but we've got 3 more coming up after today as well, so definitely make sure to tune into those. I think we'll get started.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to our Find Your People podcast. And today we're going to be talking about our experience today as Black heritage students at the University of Leeds, and talking about how we've navigated university to the point that we're at now through our sort of different journeys. So I'm happy to introduce my 2 co-hosts on this podcast today. So Courtney, do you want to go first?
Yes, hello everybody. My name is Courtney and I am currently a student here at University of Leeds. Hope you're going to hear this and be inspired, hopefully.
Florentina?
Hi, my name is Florentina. I'm going to be a second-year student studying social policy and sociology and crime. And I really hope that this podcast will help future incoming students at Leeds University.
And then, hello everyone. My name's Nathan, and I'm, the host for this podcast. And I am a maths and economics student here at the University of Leeds. But I'm really looking forward to getting into this because this podcast builds up on a lot of work that we've done before. So Florentina, we've come across each other already with a workshop that we've done, looking at Black heritage students' experience of university and things that we put on offer maybe that you don't see, and talk about ways in which we can appeal more to the Black student body here at the university. And I think that you two were familiar with each other, am I right?
Yeah.
How do you both know each other?
That's a long story, which I will make very brief. Literally, we met in our college. The college, we managed to, to meet up through the opportunity to do sports together, which was volleyball at the time.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I loved it.
I loved it myself. And the funny thing is that immediately we understood that we spoke the same language as well.
Yeah. So it was quite, yeah. And it was like, it was quite great because it was even something like that we had something to bond as well.
Yeah.
So
That's such a key thing. Did you both come to University Leeds at the same time or different times?
Different times.
Ah.
Different times in the sense that I finished 1 year. I was 1 year above. So I finished and we still managed, obviously, to stay in contact. In fact, she would come sometimes here and we would meet up and we still managed to stay in contact.
Yeah, and that was quite helpful just because, that, made me, also understand, she not only, nonetheless of the different arrangement and schedules that we had, we still had kind of time to hang out.
That's true.
And so while she was at university and I was still doing my last year, I just had so many questions. And as a student doing their last year at college, and preparing for university, I think it can be a bit scary to even I don't know, maybe ask some people adults, because they cannot really understand what it's like to become a student at university. So the fact that I had Courtney already doing her first year, it kind of gave me the opportunity to be okay, I can just ask her how she's doing, how she's finding it, what about her course, and that helped me a lot to think about the type of the university I wanted to go in and also the course. So
no, that's really interesting because it's kind of like what this is about. You found your person at college and that's helped you find your place in university. So obviously you got some help from Courtney about university and University Leeds, and you got some insight into it. What was your perception then of Black students at university? Did you think that there were quite a lot here at Leeds, or was your impression quite different?
So my impression about Leeds University regarding the Black heritage that they had here for students, I believe that it wasn't a lot and I already expected it. But as well, I didn't know if because of the fact that I kind of knew that there weren't going to be so many, if I would be able to find a place where I belonged here. So that kind of it was a bit concerning for me, because I wanted to go to a university that has that where I feel I can belong. And so just having the opportunity to have Courtney as well to be here and explaining to me different aspects of the university and ways in which Black people are celebrated and Black students are given opportunities, that helped me a lot as well.
I was going to say, so did you think, Courtney, that there were a lot of Black people already at the University of Leeds, or did you come and you were actually quite surprised?
The interesting thing, this is something that was the primary thing that I've noticed when actually I met this other Black girl in university. We actually noticed as soon as we had our first day that black people were a minority here, and we were not sad about it, but we were thinking, how would we be finding ourselves comfortable, or how how the environment.
Go out of your way to find a space where you can find more Black people and find that minority.
You said it, yes.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And what I like about kind of your friendship is I had something similar with my cousin. So she came to the University of Leeds, and through going to ACS, I think, a lot of her friends at university were Black. But that kind of gave me a false sort of conception of how many
Imagine,
students there were
yes.
here that were black. So because a lot of her friends were black, I was like, there are so many everywhere. But then I didn't see them as often, and so I was a bit disappointed. But then I realised
Yes.
that they actually are there. It's just that they're in certain spaces, and you need to go out of your way
Yeah.
to find those spaces. So have either of you, since starting university, found those spaces where you feel a sense of community with fellow Black Heritage students? Or would you not say you found them yet?
So, interesting enough, I kind of like found a group which I held tight, I actually found from the Plus program.
Ah.
Yeah, and because it's like a program that helps students who come from like a socioeconomic background and also minorities at the university, it just allowed me to like connect with other people, and from there I kind of found my own friend group. I know many people usually find their friend group from the African Caribbean Society, which has a very large a very large amount of people who come from a Black heritage. And so I believe that from there as well, it can be a really good place for people to connect and make friends with other Black students at the university.
That's really interesting that you say the Plus program, and that really makes me kind of punch myself a little bit, because I'm part of the Plus program and I'm going into my 4th year here at university, and I haven't really taken advantage of that sort of experience, of that those opportunities. So I definitely think that that's something to mention to anyone listening, is when you do come to university, make sure you make the most out of those experiences and those opportunities, because you never know, it could be the difference between you finding your group of people as Florentina has, or maybe not. How about you, Courtney? Where have you found your space where you've been comfortable in a group of fellow Black students, or are you still on that journey to finding them?
Yeah, can I first do a good shout out to the Plus program in this now that Florentina, she just mentioned it, because you said something very important that was like 4 years ago you were not like, you were not aware of the Plus program.
Well, I was, but I just didn't take advantage of the opportunities that I would hear about. Okay.
And in fact, to be honest, personally, I think the advertisement of the Plus program that was done in the last 2 years that I've been here it has been great. Let's be honest, it has been great in terms of allowing different opportunities to take place, to help, as Florentina said, to connect the different students from this minority background. So I just wanted to say that, side note. But to get back to your question, could you remind me?
It was about whether or not you found a space with fellow Black students, or you found a space where you're comfortable, you've got your people, or whether you're still on that journey of finding them.
I would say I was made able to find my group of fellow Black people when I took advantage of societies like ACS. I have to be honest, on my first year, it wasn't really serious for me going to the ACS society, just simply for the fact that I was a commuter. So it made it not really easy for me to stay for events. But I've tried it. They had plenty of occasions to just come together. Obviously, as you know, for whoever is listening, in university it works like this, that basically whatever you give, you get back. That's at least for my experience. So what I was giving in terms of my availability to get involved with societies, I was getting back. But when I couldn't, obviously I could not complain about the fact that there was no opportunities, when in fact there were opportunities, but it's just me as a commuter in this case, I couldn't stay that long. So overall, the opportunities are here. It's just making time for it. And ACS was a great opportunity to make time and find other Black people, fellow mixed race people as well, like me. And they were definitely first week, which is like the week that is massively important in university, where you try many societies. There are going to be definitely events that you can take part in.
I think I like what you mentioned there about kind of there being mixed race students in ACS, because again, I'm kicking myself because I never went. Because part of my experience as a mixed race student here at university is like I sometimes didn't feel like I was I guess worthy of going somewhere like ACS.
Yes.
Because I wasn't fully black.
Yes.
And that's not the case
Good
at
point.
all.
Yeah.
And I think it's something to note is that you will see so many different black heritage students around the university. However, within that community as well, there are also other different niches that you may come across.
Yes.
So you might have international students, or you'll have mixed race students.
That's the beauty.
And then within that, though, I think it's really good to express that because there are a vast amount of students. Like, I don't know what the proportion of black students at the university is, but it's a proportion of 40,000. And that within itself will be a big group in itself. But I think also expressing that, as you said, there's so many opportunities. We've spoken about societies. But there's also, you've got your course in itself. I don't know if any of you guys have what I've had on my course.
Just touched something very interesting,
On my course, I do maths and economics, which is fairly diverse. But it's not incredibly diverse. And but I've got this thing where I'll probably see someone of black heritage in my lecture theatre. Do you guys do I do a little nod sometimes. And I look at them and there's that unspoken word of I understand you. I see you. And I really appreciate that there are all those other opportunities. I feel like I should go to you, Courtney, because I feel like you've been waiting to say something.
I was waiting for that question. I was waiting for that question simply for the fact that the university has made available the inclusive they are called.
Is it the College Diversity Inclusion?
Yes.
Yeah.
So even something mentioned was inclusive citation. There's been this kind of progress made by the university to include even courses that would embrace diversity. For instance, I did this seminar. It wasn't a seminar, it was my module. Thank you. Finally, the English word is coming out. The module. I did this module which was called Black Europe. Florentina, I remember Black Europe for second year because Black Europe was a massive, beautiful module that was going through different ways that black people were finding themselves in European countries. And I find it very interesting simply to have not just the perspective of professors that have analyzed the way that black people felt comfortable in different European countries, but even themselves making a connection with the students coming from black heritage background and living in those countries. For instance, countries like Italy, as a person myself from black heritage, I was able to share with my professor in that module my experience as a mixed race person, and I think it was massively interesting that was made available.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's I don't know if you'd agree, but an example of a way in which blackness has been celebrated, I guess.
Yes,
or at least recognised. Because I think that's something from school in something like history.
Definitely.
You wouldn't come across black people in history lessons in class.
Yeah.
That's something that I found. So to hear that that's going on the curriculum.
Yes.
And I think one thing to point out as well is I don't know if you agree, that universities on the whole, they're not there fully in terms of inclusivity in the curriculum, but to know that there's modules such as Black Europe where they're making their way to get to that point, it's a really good show of they're making
it's really
progress.
Progressive,
and that's a really positive thing.
Yeah, I also wanted to say that from my course, one thing that I found very surprising and also really good to see as well was from the diversity and inclusion. They kind of set up an event around the second semester to help students who from the course are belong to an ethnic minorities, and creating an event for them to make them feel more inclusive, and if they had any question regarding the course, or if they had any issues or any questions they had, really. And I feel like that was really good. It was a really good thing.
I'll come back to you as well, Florentina, because I know that you've also taken part in some other extracurricular stuff with certain projects related to Black Heritage students. Do you mind telling us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so I took part on a project this year that was called a Student Involvement Project. That was created by individuals who are part of the PLUS program, who organized the PLUS program, and it kind of consisted in involving students to change aspects of the university to help other students specifically of the PLUS program, but eventually I believe it can also kind of help the university students in itself. So that consisted in a small group, which I was glad to be part of, to create some ideas and suggestions to help future students feel, and also not only future students, but also students who are still at the university, to feel more of a sense of community and increase their well-being at the university, feel like they belong and they can seek help or find places where they can feel comfortable to like open up. And so we and that through the student involvement project kind of like helped a lot to like understand more about other people's experiences, because I think it's just important for the university to acknowledge that all students have different experiences of the university, and so having us to talk about it, I think, is a really good thing, because it kind of it makes us realize that the university has good intentions to make a change, and so they want to hear students' voice. And so I think that's a really good thing.
And did you come across other Black students through your work with that?
Yeah. So, and not only other Black students, but also other students from belonging from other ethnic minority. So that just kind of like shows the inclusiveness that it's not just something that is for like Black people, but it's something about like inclusiveness. So
and I think it's also like having a shared goal with other people.
Exactly.
That's helping you find your people. Not to quote the podcast title or anything. Plug that in there. Find your people. No, I definitely resonate with that, because as part of my I've been on a placement year with the university, and one of the projects I've overseen has been something called Insight to Uni, and the intention is I hope you both take part next year if it's running. But
what was the name again? Insight
to Uni. Okay. And the intention is that you take Black Heritage students from the university, and they mentor Year 12 Black Heritage students from Yorkshire and the Humber.
Wow.
And the intention is that you help them with their university application and help them with refining their skills. And the overall aim is so that, first of all, it gives Black students at the university an opportunity to develop skills which can help their employability, but it also helps these students who are coming up to see themselves in a top university. And that's a big thing as well for students. And then once they can see themselves in university, they can find their people at university and they can just progress on a journey through life, which more and more Black students are going through each year. But I definitely think it's definitely a point to point out there are a lot of projects going on behind the scenes that you won't just see through your academics. You have to go out of your way to find them, or you'll be emailed about them, and then you can find your people in those different areas. Because I think it's very easy for us to just say, there's a society, go there sort of thing. But also we can express that there's actually a lot of different societies. One thing I noticed when looking for people to join my project that I just mentioned was I didn't realise it's not just ACS. You've got the East African Society, you've got the Somali Society, you've got the Nigerian Society, Black
there is the
Women's
Nigerian
Project.
Society as well,
And then on top of that, like in the UK, we've definitely got a correlation between people of Black heritage, and also people who are religious. And then when looking at religious societies, such as the Pentecostal Society,
Yes.
you can also find people that share your faith, but also that share your background.
Exactly.
And that's definitely a big thing to do. So for anyone listening, any of the new Plus Programme students, do make sure you go to the Freshers Fairs.
Yes,
and go around,
definitely.
meet people. Don't be afraid to go out of your way, or you'll end
That's
up
very important,
in my
yeah.
position where I'm looking back now thinking, I should have done this 3 years ago rather than joining as I go into my 4th year. But
That's
no,
very
that's
important.
definitely a big thing. Now that I've just spoken about something that I would do, something that I would change if I was to go back to the start of uni. And I think everyone would definitely change something because you'll always look back and think, oh, I wish I did that, I wish I did that. But what would you, I'll go to you first, Daphne, what would you go back and tell yourself if you started your time at university again?
That's a very,
Gosh, it's getting long now as well, like that's like 3 years ago.
That's a very interesting question. I would say,
Florentina, get thinking just in case you've...
yeah.
Yeah.
Florentina, do you have yours already?
So,
Maybe.
I mean, for me, I would do some changes. Yeah, I would have to do some changes just because, like, I was really, really overwhelmed by the beginning of the university because it was just a new space and it was it was just something very new to me. And because of the fact that, like, because I'm a Black student, I already didn't see a lot of people who come from the same background as me. So it was kind of like still overwhelming. And so what I would change, I guess, it would be like being patient and trying to ask questions and making sure that, like, I don't get like just making sure that everything that I have, like, in mind, I kind of make at least someone know from the university. So for me, it was like the Plus program. I kept asking a lot of questions to anyone involved in the Plus program because I feel like with that one, the Plus program has been really an anchor for me to hold for my journey at university as a first year because it was like something very unexpected because, like, with me and the Plus program, I didn't really think that I was I really didn't think how important it was until like I really wanted to, like, be involved but also, like, participate in occasions and events that they hosted because I understood that what their goal was to make students feel comfortable. So I would just make other students know that there are places where you can feel free to, like, ask questions or seek any type of advice or help because I assure you that if they don't have the questions, they will find someone who do.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
just
that's how it works.
make sure that you don't, like, feel like you're lost because there are people who are here that want to help you. So yeah.
No, I really appreciate that advice. So listening to the listeners. Courtney, you've had time to think now. What
I
would
had
you say?
time to think. I would say now that going back to first year, I've mentioned even before, being someone that commutes limited my sort of freedom to stay a bit later for the society. But this was dependent on me driving at that time, and I was not driving. So second year I started driving, so that one made me able to stay a bit longer and take advantage of the events. So I would say for first year, having the opportunity to stay a bit longer for events with ACS would be something that I would have done. But we can't go back. But if I can advise you guys, take note of this, that there are events that are put in place for you, and if you don't take advantage, you're going to miss out, and it's a shame. It's a shame for the opportunity that you have to be in university, and you want to make the most out of it. So I would say make the most out of it by taking part.
Definitely. You know what? I think it's really nice to hear as well that you still found your people as a community student, because I think that's a misconception sometimes is that community students may, obviously it's a bit harder at times, but you still manage to find your people and go out of your way to do so. But I think another thing as well to note is that I know that this podcast today is about finding your people as Black heritage students, but there are 40,000 students in university, and you can make friends with non-Black people as well.
Yeah,
just to put
obviously.
that out there, for anyone thinking, oh, like, I just have to go to ATS
No.
and find my friends there.
Can I say something
Yeah, go
about
on.
this? I just wanted to remind everybody that even when you don't see a representation of people from your same background, this doesn't mean that it limits you completely. Absolutely not. That's not the message, at least from my experience, that I want to pass. What I want to say is definitely seeing people that are similar to you is something that can, give you inspiration. But it doesn't limit definitely what you can do. What I would say is seeing what looks like you is pleasant. It's pleasant because you can be motivated by that. You can be encouraged by that. But even when you are a minority, it doesn't mean that you don't count, because you're still part of the room. Since let's see university as a room right now, and in that room there are different people carrying different baggage of cultural background, let's say background right now. And as long as you are in that room and you make the most out of what is present in that room, I think that's what it counts more. And I believe, and I've seen it around, that Black people have made so much impact in this university, even with the scholars that you see that have come through this university, even with the events that have been presented in this university. They have made an impact to not be silent about their cultural background, and to actually bring that cultural background as a beauty that other people can find interesting to know more about. And that's the most important thing, I think.
I completely agree, especially during graduation season. That's
Yes.
when I tear up
Yeah.
sometimes, because I was with my friend who is white,
Yeah.
and his mum started talking, and she said, she went, yeah, there were these Black people in front of me, and I was scared. I said, what is this lady going to say? And then she said that she loved the way that they dressed in their traditional
Yes,
outfits,
yeah.
the way they celebrated and cheered and shouted and screamed.
Yeah.
And it was something that she wanted to take inspiration from and say, I wish I
Yes.
could do that more,
Yes.
without feeling the sort of disappointment and maybe not disappointment, they kind of like, shying away from it, like, I don't want to
yeah.
scream out loud.
Yes,
So yeah,
yeah.
bring your culture with you.
Yeah,
Definitely is a
yeah.
big thing to say. And I always get so emotional seeing like posts on like LinkedIn about people graduating thinking, when my grandparents came to this country so long ago, who thought that I would become a graduate today?
Yes.
And I really know I love that. So I definitely agree. Bring your culture with you and don't
Yeah.
shy away from it.
Yeah.
The
size doesn't matter, whatever, like, the amount of people are here that represent you. Like, make sure that you make sure that you can represent what you're bringing in. That's
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think with
Very
culture
important.
itself as well, it's like you're bringing not just culture, but you're bringing your experiences.
Yes.
Like some people used to call me a coconut, I can't lie. Like a black man on the outside, but like on the inside, I was a bit white. But
Can I share that with you as well?
so I think I still want my own experiences as someone mixed race who was raised
Yes.
by a Kenyan grandmother. And having those experiences is a way that you get to not just express yourself, but you get others to express themselves to you.
Exactly.
And you find your people.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest, my group is very much full of white people. But they're still my people, and I've been able to learn from their experiences, while still having other black friends that I've got from a variety of other places. But no, this was a very... How have you found the past half an hour, guys?
Is it half an hour already?
Is the half an hour gone?
I didn't realize. Very interesting.
I was
Very
going to say,
interesting.
are there any last sort of words that you'd like to give to the Plus Programme students who are going to be listening? Florentina?
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to say that for like future Black Plus program students, but also students who are already at part of the university, to like take part more on the opportunities that the university has, because it's something that it would really, I feel like it just could help them grow as a person as well, and just like understand people's experiences and create new experiences for themselves. One thing that I saw about societies this year is that there aren't many like Black students involved in societies that maybe other than the African Caribbean society, and I just believe that's I think it's just, I believe that could be like a limitation, because there's so many. I understand about like time schedule and that can be difficult, but like I don't want people I don't want Black people to feel like they're not unable to join other societies just because maybe they don't see people that look as the same like background.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking from personal experience, because I do a sports society and I don't see many Black students, and that's a shame, because I know that there are many people with so much potential, and because of maybe personal reasons they cannot come by, but like there is also like a limitation from maybe the culture that maybe a society has. And I just want to let Black students know that don't let that limit you from joining, because one thing is that as we have talked about this podcast, that we need to celebrate each other. So as well Courtney was like saying about like bringing what you have, just please like make sure that you don't stop yourself from doing something that you want to do because there are other things that you think that may limit you. So just
Courtney?
Well, that with that point, I absolutely agree, and I would add as well that as Black students or mixed race students or any minorities, I feel it's very important that we need to understand that if we don't see ourselves represented, we can start to be that representation. In the sense that, going back to what Fleur said, if you don't see a society that represents you, you can start that society. You can start a society. Even myself, I took part in society, and I took part in starting societies. And I did that because I wanted people to see that there's something that they can join that wasn't there before. And I feel like if you see that there's something that you don't see is taking place, in university you have this marvelous opportunity that you can start it off. And this one will not just help you in terms of your confidence, in terms of how you feel. Definitely you will feel proud of starting something, but it will help you as well in terms of career progression, in terms of having those skills that employers look for. So starting something from scratch and being the first person to start that is something that will help you in the overall 360 degrees, fully. And as a Black student, don't be scared because you don't see enough people joining in. Just start and you will see that it will get good. Yeah,
I think that's really good to know. And I guess my final point would be to say, as you've just said, finding your people doesn't mean that group of people is already there waiting for you.
Yeah.
It could be that you're the centre of that group who actually finds those people and brings them together. So that's a really good thing to know. And like you said, Florentina, you don't realise it, but you're doing wonders for the society that you've joined as one of the only Black people, because someone else could see you in that society and think, oh, you know what, if she's doing well there, then I can go too. So that's a really good point. But that ends our podcast. So I'd really like to thank Florentina and Courtney.
Thank you for inviting us.
For their insight. So good luck to everyone who's planning to come to the university. And as we said, make the most out of the Plus programme. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So our podcast. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I know I really enjoyed listening to it. Florentina and Courtney, first of all, can I just say you were both absolutely amazing on that podcast, and yeah,
When
thank you so
they-
much. Yeah, you're both amazing. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. So moving on to our Q&A then, thought it'd be good to just touch on anything that came up in the podcast that maybe you weren't too sure on or that you'd like to know a little bit more about. And I know we got a couple of questions come through in the Q&A, in the Q&A box whilst we were playing the podcast there. So I did answer a couple of them, but I thought it might be nice to touch on them and a little bit more and get your guys' thoughts on them as well, Florentina and Courtney. Also, I do need to introduce Libby as well, who's also on our panel. So Libby is in the she works in the Plus program as well. She's our senior student involvement officer. I don't know if you want to say hi, Libby.
Hi guys, yes, thank you for having me. I've been working with Courtney and Florentina on some of our student projects, so I'm here just to answer any questions about that.
Thanks, Libby. Yeah, so we've got Courtney, Florentina, and Libby on our panel, and me as well. If you have any questions, feel free to keep bobbing them in the Q&A box. But we'll start off with the ones that we've got there already. So we had one about accommodation. So this person said, has anyone been in shared accommodation? I'm really nervous about sharing a bathroom with other people. Is it cleaned by someone or are we to clean them ourselves? So I don't know if you have any thoughts. Anyone from the panel wants to take this one?
I would say in my experience with accommodations, I don't actually have a personal one since I commute, and I've mentioned it in the podcast as well. I believe, since I've shared anyway, the comments, like I've heard comments from people that are my friends that live in accommodation, and if it's in regards, what was specifically in regards, Katie?
So sharing a bathroom specifically, and I guess, yeah, kind of, is that, do you look after that yourself? Is that something someone else looks after? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Based on the experience of my friends, it would be better if you have your own bathroom. Some people are fussy about their bathroom. I would be, to be honest. So if you manage to get a studio, that would be my recommendation. And that's what I'm doing right now. Since I'm traveling abroad for a year abroad, I personally, for the fact that I would prefer to have my own space with the toilet, especially, I chose a studio, and I would recommend you, if you can, to choose a studio to have your private space if that's what you prefer.
Thanks, Courtney. Do you have any thoughts on that, Florentina?
Yeah, I would like to also add, so because of the fact that I am a commuter as well, however, I still during the year went to different types of accommodations. Some of them were I had like individual bathrooms, some of them had shared ones. So in like when I used to go to like accommodation that had shared bathroom, and I was very curious about it because I didn't go to accommodation, I really wanted to know how was other people's experiences in the in accommodations. They were explaining me how like they have like a shared type of agreement to overall like make sure that the other person doesn't like make any like messy doesn't like create a messy environment, because in the end it's something that they have to share. And so it's important to like make sure that you get to know the other person who you're going to share a bathroom with, and like just even like getting to know each other and like make sure that you guys both are in the same page about making sure that like the environment where you're going to be in is going to be good for both of you, because in the end, if if there is someone who doesn't collaborate, it kind of affects everyone. So it's important to make sure that like you speak to the other person, and I think it's going to be completely fine. There, for the experience of my friend, she didn't had like any serious issues. Maybe some mess up in there, but like everything obviously can be resolved by just talking about it. I think that is important as well. So
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I completely agree. And just to touch a little bit on what I put in my answer as well, in case it's helpful, because I lived in shared accommodation when I was at uni. Um, and to be honest, like in my first year, I had an ensuite because I was a little bit like worried about that, to be honest. And I was put with my preference in my form, sort of same as what you've said. Like I was a bit kind of nervous about sharing a bathroom with other people. But to be honest, I found that in my second and third year, when I like shared a and my fourth year when I was in my year abroad, sharing a bathroom with other people, it felt a little bit more homely. Like it felt quite like we could we seen each other more, because I think when there's obviously pros and cons to all of this, and it's all about your preference, to be honest. And either way, you will be absolutely fine. But I did find that when I shared it with other people, we sort of seen each other more around the house and things like that. And it made it feel more like we were a little family, as opposed to kind of just in our own little units with, with your bathroom and stuff. Although it is obviously lovely having your own bathroom and stuff, who can complain? But there's definitely pros and cons. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, is my advice, kind of like what Courtney and Florentina have said. It's, you can have your own little system, set that up and make sure that everyone's sort of sharing the load with cleaning and things like that. And it's all something that you'll get to grips with as you go, but you'll be absolutely fine, would be my advice. But yeah, thank you guys. That was really helpful. And then another question that we had as well was about a Ghanaian society, and whether we know if one exists at LUU. I did have a little Google and it looked like there was one in 2018 to 19. I'm not sure whether it's still active, but I know obviously we've got African Caribbean Society. So I don't know if you wanted to touch on that a little bit more.
I'm aware that there is a Nigerian society. Ghanaian, not too sure at the moment, but there might be coming up one with this new academic year. Or you might be the one if you're interested.
Definitely.
Yeah, same with me. Because I know that there is definitely the Nigerian society, but like for the Ghanaian society, I'm not sure. But as everyone said here, the ACS is a really good place where not only you can find people who come from like the Ghanaian heritage, but also other countries from Africa. So yeah.
Were you both on ACS? I don't know if it would be worth whether you'd like to add anything more about your experience of being on the society.
I was in ACS, but Florentina, I think you would have more to say about this.
So I've been in ACS this year, and I'm also planning to like participate next year, so this academic year. And I've been in some events throughout the year. They have like quite a few. It's really nice. Most of them are like just, sometimes they do like gathering of all people. Sometimes they also like maybe do socials, maybe for just like girls only or boys only. But like in general, it's just trying to make sure that like everyone is like in a community. And so for example, big events that they had, for example, was the ACS ball, which I like attended, and it was really nice to see like so many different like students dressed so nicely. And so yeah, it was really a good thing to just like celebrate Black culture and like how everything was also managed. So, and we also have they also have like events after uni, so that could be maybe barbecues, just maybe to end the year. And they will definitely have more events at the beginning of this semester as well.
Amazing. That sounds fab. Thank you so much, Valentina. I don't know whether you have anything to add, Libby, around what else is kind of available for Black Heritage students at Leeds?
The one thing that I will mention, if there's any Black female students listening to this, is there's the Black Women's Project Society that launched last year. So we work with an external partner called Kinsis, who run the Black Women's Project, and they've done a lot of work at Leeds this year with some of our students. And one of those kind of projects that they worked on was setting up a society chapter for the Black Women's Project. So that is something that launched last academic year, and I know that they're going ahead again in the new academic year, and they've got a committee and things like that. So maybe that is one to look out for as well.
Thanks, Livy. Fab. So just keeping an eye on time then. I think if we don't have any more questions, I'll move us on to the next slide, which was just with some sort of useful links and websites to bear in mind after our conversation today. I know we've touched a little bit on the Leeds University Union clubs and societies, and you can find all of the different societies that are available at the union on the website. There's absolutely loads, and as Florentina mentioned as well, like if that you can actually make your own society. So if there's not one that interests you, you know, there's people who you can set them up. Anyone can, any student can, which is really exciting. So it's definitely worth having a look through that website. I also put a link to With Insight, which is what Nathan, our wonderful host in that podcast, was speaking a little bit about, which is something that you can sign up for if you're interested, if you're a Black Heritage student. I've also put a link to our Find Your People Padlet as well, which has loads and loads of different resources kind of relating to this week's theme. So you can find more things on there. Also link to Yumi as well, which you might have seen in this week's newsletter, which I think is a really useful resource in thinking about Find Your People and some of the things that we spoke about in our conversation today. Also, if you do have more questions, then there's the QR code there as well to take you to our Menti, where you can put any of your questions in and we'll kind of aim to answer them in the sort of upcoming events that we've got. So definitely check that out and add any more questions that you have to that if you'd like to. You can circulate these slides and pop them somewhere for you to access after today as well, so you can get the links. And then just before we finish off, I wanted to just talk a little bit about the podcasts that we've got coming up over the next few weeks. Please come along if you are interested, and if you'd like to, we'll be having conversations like the one we've had today, focused on the different themes for each week. So we've got Look After Yourself next week, then we've got our Step into University Life the week after, and then we're closing off with Get Your Grades for our 4th episode the week after that. So you've got the dates and times on there, and you can find the links in our weekly newsletters, but you can also find them in our Welcome Plus programme, which I've popped a QR code on for you there on the right to scan. And also just with regards to our upcoming events, we've got some different events happening each week, which I definitely recommend coming along to. We've got a Start with Self-Care next week, Managing Money event the week after, and Independent Study event the week after that as well. So please come along to those. I know they'll be really, really helpful. And then we've got our big in-person welcome event as well on Friday the 13th, and that's going to be on campus. So I really hope to see you all there. And in the meantime, if you want to kind of, please don't feel like you need to remember all of this information. It is all in our Welcome Plus programme, and you'll also have our newsletters coming into your box every week as well. And don't hesitate to get in touch with us by email if you've got any questions in the meantime. And the email address is just on the bottom there. But yeah, I think that's us for today. So I'd just like to thank our panelists. So I'd like to thank our student guests, Florentina and Courtney, for the wonderful conversation. You were both absolutely amazing. And thank you, Libby, for joining us on the panel as well today. It's been great to have you all.
Thank you for having us.
Sorry, can I just mention just before we finish, I just wanted to flag that one of the projects that we've been working on through the Student Involvement Project that Florentina works on is a project called I See Myself. So that's something that kind of is something that we've been working a lot on this past academic year, and something that is going to continue on into the next academic year as well. So just to keep an eye on that, that's something that we are working on, which it goes back to what Courtney and Florentina were talking about in the podcast around the idea that we want to increase representation and things like that. So that is something that we're working on within the Plus programme. So keep an eye on our newsletter and kind of social media channels and things like that for more I See Myself work if you want to get involved or just want to find out a little bit more about it as well.
Thanks, Libby. Yeah, I'll make sure to include a link on that slide as well, so you can find out more information about I See Myself after this if you're interested. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.